in on X. Okay, now we're on everything. So, all right, that's good. Sorry about that. So we'll start over. A year ago, I had colon cancer. Part of that was they cut my ureter, which goes from my kidney to my bladder. So I was going to have to do a surgery, told the court, all that kind of stuff, all that jazz. Hopefully, I should have gotten it done in the fourth quarter of last year or beginning of this year. Took us a little bit of time to find a surgeon, but we were preoccupied with the fact that Chad Conley and those guys wanted to throw me in jail for 90 days. So, so we were fighting that. As I told the judge, and as we know, and as we put out there, the judge didn't believe I had cancer. The other side has yet to concede that I had cancer, even though I've given them hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents. The first excuse last October, I think, was I didn't give them enough documents. A sworn affidavit, I guess, apparently from a lawyer and a CPA was not enough. So now I've given them too many documents. So now they wanted letters from my doctors. We got all that stuff last week, got a continuance in one case. But I will tell you, this was hilarious. I was literally getting chemotherapy last Tuesday while Chad Conley and his legal counsel was arguing that we should not get a continuance in that particular case on a status conference with the judge. So it's incredible. I mean, because most people, if you're a lawyer, you want to delay a case, one of the main parties to the case is going through medical issues. You can get a stay or a continuance or something like that. They were literally arguing while I was in the infusion center getting chemotherapy that we should not get a stay in this particular case. And we ended up getting it because of the stuff from the doctors. It was, it's crazy enough that they want to find me in willful contempt, because that has never been held or been found in a particular, these type of civil cases. But I had a former judge and multiple attorneys tell me they've never seen this in the state of South Carolina. So, but remember, we're all about judicial reform. We've been preaching judicial reform. Why? Because our legislators are the ones who pick the judges, and there are a lot of legislators that we are adverse to. And I'm sure phone calls are made. I have had legislators and I have had other attorneys tell me that it's not uncommon for a legislator to call a judge and tell them how they want the case to turn out. It happens all the time. And it's well known down there. I mean, you got lawyer legislators that are picking the judges and then appearing in front of those judges. Wow. So if you get in trouble, the best idea is probably go hire a lawyer legislator to represent you, because they're the ones that put the judge on the bench. I don't think that's the right way to do it. We are one of two states in the nation that does it that way. And we are fighting very hard for judicial reform, where we will either elect the judges, the people, or we will have where the governor can appoint and be confirmed by the Senate, that type of situation. So that's what kind of goes on out there. But in this particular issue, I've got did not get my cancer went to zero, did not get the surgery, and we think it grew back underneath the clips of the ureter. So there was probably some cancer that was still there. I'm just telling people because I've learned more about this, and I think other people need to learn about it. Other the people that go through cancer experiences and stuff like that. I've learned more. Hindsight's 20/20. I should have gotten everything done and not worried about whether me going into a surgery, they were going to come knock on my door and arrest me. But it makes you a little nervous. But I've got 2 chemotherapy treatments down. I got 2 more to go. So they want to knock it all back down to zero as best they can. I'll wait 6 weeks, and then we'll do a surgery that will fix my ureter problem, and then it'll clean up everything else that's in there. So that'll be in late July. I've got 2 surgeons, very happy with them, chief surgeon for oncology and a urologic surgeon. So where they'll fix all that kind of stuff. Urological oncology. Is that right? Did I say everything? Olga does. They are in Greenville. So yes, before I did all of this, I had a great surgeon that did my the sigmoid colon resection and got all that type of stuff, but linked it all back together. But that was in Charleston, and I try to keep the team together down there. I will tell you, moving the team up here for the surgeons that are up here, they didn't have this type of surgeon down in the Charleston area. But it is a lot easier to go get your treatment and come home and hang out with cats. The generals. But that's the update there. I think people will ask about it. I can say, go look at the first couple minutes, and because I don't tell the story, so it's fun. We do have one new guest. You mind introducing yourself? What brought you here? You can blame it on Tony.
My neighbor.
Have you been in his basement? That's my curiosity.
I have been in his basement, yes.
Oh,
Yes,
good.
I have.
Yes, I hear he has some toys.
I let him out.
I see you let him out. That's good.
Yes.
Well, glad you're here. Let us know, other kind of, you have a cause or what's your interest?
Oh, I'm conservative Republican, so,
Okay.
it's interesting to come see you guys.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I'm from New York originally. Hudson Valley area.
Good. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
A lot of people, my family, I'm from here. My family's been from here, a long time. And a lot of people sit there and like to blame all these Yankees. Damn Yankees coming down here doing stuff. I don't think that's the problem because I see guys like you, Claire, others that come here from up north that say, I came here to get away from this mess. And holy cow, you guys, it's almost worse down here. We didn't know any better. The fault is people like me who have been down here forever. And then it's our buddies and our high school friends or college classmates that are lawyer legislators down the state house and doing things like that. But I do believe there is a massive shift that's going on. The shift is an anti-establishment shift. It's about how do we, the people, get involved and how do we make a difference? Because it is our responsibility. And it's our responsibility to stop this. It's not, nobody is going to come in. There is one savior, but I don't think his job is to come in here and fix the little relatively minor things that are going on. And we have to start looking for other people to come solve this. We got to get active. We got to get organized. We got to get involved. We got to do more stuff. Several people were here. Last night, we had here in Greenville. And part of this in sharing what we do with Coffee and Politics is to let everybody know what we're doing in Greenville. Why we've had success here. Why our friends in Spartanburg were successful in taking over. Spartanburg Greenville was probably the #1 establishment county in the state. When we took back control of people 4 years ago, Spartanburg was certainly probably, I would think, #2. We kind of leave Richland out. That's kind of the hub of the Rhino Empire, evil down there. But we'll get to Richland eventually, and hopefully at 27. That's my goal, is to go after Richland. But we've got to, we're trying to teach people across the state, and we've got a very good hub of MAGA America First folks in the upstate. But we've got to get that spread, #1, across to the state, our counties in the Low Country. We have had very good success in the Low Country, but really we need to get it to these small counties that are out, and I call it the hinterlands. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but just out in the middle of nowhere, South Carolina, that most of us haven't ever heard of or gone to. We know Greenville, Columbia, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Beaufort, all those types of things. But there's a whole lot of South Carolina that most people, it's kind of like flyover country. And I actually have the theory that a lot of those people down there are Trump, MAGA, America First folks, but the establishment has gotten very ingrained in some of these very small counties, and they've gotten ingrained, but really because they get manipulated by the old Rhino establishment. I got a call, and I'll give you all this example. There's one county, small county. I got a call from one of their GOP leaders that they had run into their chairman at the store, and the chairman said, "Did you know there's a bench warrant out for the arrest of Jeff Davis?" There is no bench warrant out for my arrest. That's #1. But that's what the chairman of one of these small counties is telling people. Now, I reached out to that chairman, and I'm not going to use their name or whatever, but I reached out. I left a call. I said, "Is it okay if I call that person to clarify this?" I called, left a voicemail. I sent him a text message. No response. That was 2 or 3 days. It was probably Wednesday, I guess. Was it Wednesday? I don't know. But if I was out telling people that there was a bench warrant for Terry's arrest, and it's not true, and then Terry calls me up and tells me, "Hey, this is not true. I'm happy to talk with you. And where does these things come from?" I would probably call her back. But we need to understand is there's a lot of people that are purposely, they don't want to know the truth. And even when they know it's not true, they just shut a blind eye. And those types of people, I don't know. What do you do with somebody that's spreading those types of lies? And then they, when approached by the truth, they don't want to know about it. So that is the main thing that's a big problem and issue that's going on in the state. I will tell you, I have heard more things about me. Trusting anonymous sources. When things don't make sense, dig a little deeper. I love the part two of what this friend of ours was told. Was told that there was a bench warrant out for my arrest, but they were not pursuing it because I had cancer. So number one, they lie. And number two, the people that told the lie are nice people because they're not pursuing it because I have cancer. They are literally pursuing it because I have cancer. Nobody objects to a continuance, in a court case or a party to a case, and won't admit and concede that they have cancer. And that's what Chad Conley's attorneys, have refused to even concede. And I've even brought it up. I'm like, to the judge, I'm like, these people are not, they won't even concede to this date. They've seen 800 pages of documentation from our medical providers, and they won't concede that I have cancer. You tell me. So, but I'm sure they'll sit there and say I'm twisting some truth now. Write down somewhere that I have cancer and tell the judge, hey, we concede that he has cancer. They won't do it. So that's what's interesting. That's what's going on. But as we've talked a great deal about, what we're trying to do is focus on educating people to not trust us, but to not trust anybody. Don't trust anybody out there. And most importantly, don't trust the people you like. That's the main thing. I like a particular politician. That politician may be good today, but that doesn't mean that politician isn't going to be swayed on a particular issue by money or influence or something of that nature, or they may not, or they may just go to the full other side. And I will tell you one example that I thought was interesting, and the gentleman made the comment here, Tom Tillis, guy, a friend that comes down from North Carolina, he made the comment. I don't know if everybody heard it, but he was close with Tom Tillis. He was in the North Carolina House of Representatives, and and he would message with and supported Tom. We've had people that are like, "Why are you supporting Tom Tillis?" Because he's more of an establishment kind of rhino. He's now a U.S. senator up in the U.S. Senate in Washington D.C. And now Guy is helping a guy named is it Roy Brown? RoyBrownNC.com. You can go look at his website. But Roy's running against Tom Tillis for the U.S. Senate seat next year, just like we have folks trying to run against Lindsey Graham here. But Guy had the text with Tom Tillis. Tom would respond, and then Guy asked him a question, and Tom Tillis just responded, "Bye, Guy. Not going to talk to you ever again." And he's never heard from him since. Why? Because Guy was probably asking him stuff that he didn't want to answer anymore, and he knew he couldn't answer. How do you legitimately? That's why a lot of people won't come talk to us, won't come talk to me. Because I believe politics should be about transparency, open, honest. People should talk about what you're doing. There is not a single thing anybody can ask me that I'm not willing to talk to them about. I've given up privacy, all that kind of craziness out there. If you have an issue or concern about what we're doing or what decisions we are making, there were people that asked questions. Why are we supporting William Timmons in the congressional race last year versus Adam Morgan? We should be more aligned to Adam Morgan. Adam Morgan won't come to the table and talk to us. William Timmons has a decent voting record and he comes to the table and talks to us. Why would we want to support anybody who won't come talk to us? Then you got to ask the question, why would he not come talk to us? He won't come talk to us because, as a lot of people have been disappointed, the Freedom Caucus has supported government-run private school choice. It's a litmus test issue. It's not complicated. If you're into, limited government, we have friends that love the Freedom Caucus and they're all about limited government. And I'm like, okay, well, why did they expand government by school choice? And why did they expand a pre-K learning program and the First Steps program, make it permanent law, give them more money, put library employees on the board of all these First Steps pre-K learning programs? It doesn't make any sense, but they won't answer the question. So that's what it is. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Everybody knows that. Open door policy and all those types of things. But we have to, we know the rhinos are bad. We know the people that left the family caucus last week in protest about what Representative McCravey is doing and trying to push on the pro-life movement. We know those people are bad, and some of those names surprise me. But as I've always said, I think 95% of them are bad. I can't tell you the 5% that are good. So that's probably part of the problem. But I mean, what we really need to learn are the ones that preach what we preach, say what we say, and figure out whether they are truly representing that or they're just saying those things to appeal to us. We all know Lindsey Graham is going to say all the things that appeal to us right before his election. After his election, he's not going to say another word about it. We all know Drew McKissick was out there. Oh, we won't close primaries. Really? I will tell you, you're not going to hear anything from Drew McKissick about closed primaries for the next 2 years because they're not about closed primaries. But he said it. He talked about it. He talked about it to manipulate voters, manipulate people to do things. Lindsey Graham will say he's a super pro-life guy. I don't think he is, but he gets the endorsements from pro-life groups, and I love watching the battle between the true pro-lifers, I would call them, and the establishment pro-life. And it's not just local, it's national. The establishment pro-life is about the money and they're about the access and going along with certain politicians and those types of things. And we're about the cause and the mission. If you're about saving babies, go out there and do everything you can to save as many babies as you can. They're about not upsetting somebody. I mean, when they will not endorse a candidate who is super pro-life against a runoff election against the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee down in Horry County, when he's not a pro-life guy, what's his name? Who's the Judiciary Chair? Olga out of Myrtle Beach, Senator Rankin.
Oh.
Yeah. Senator Rankin. Yeah, he's not helpful to the pro-life cause. He's killed the pro-life movement multiple times in his committee because that's where it all goes through because it has to do with legal and judiciary type things.
Weston Newton was one of put that previous bill.
Yes, well, Weston Newton out of Beaufort is the same thing. Law school classmate of mine too, which I always find interesting. But he's chair of judiciary on the House side, and he was the one that was killing that bill over there. I had somebody contact me from Beaufort the other day where Weston Newton said he supports closed primaries, but he said it would just never get through. It wouldn't get through the Senate, I think was his excuse. I'm like, I don't care. Hey, do your job. If you actually support closed primaries, do everything you can as chairman of the House Judiciary Committee to get it passed. Get it up to the Senate and let those guys be the bad guys. But that's not what it is. That's an excuse. And they will teach you all this in those political classes is to don't accept those excuses. Your job is to do what you can do as either just a single House rep, a member of a committee, a chairman of a committee, do what you can do to push it through and let other people worry about the other things. Maybe the issue of the governor wouldn't sign it. I think that was the issue. If they got closed primary bill through, McMaster wouldn't sign it. I'm like, well, get it through and let's see if that's actually true. But that's the game they play. In the old days, people would just accept those excuses and say, you know what? My buddy told me that it's the governor's fault. We got to be mad at the governor. We don't accept that anymore. My buddy is the problem. My buddy is not the one pushing it through and getting it done. So that's that. I'll get off that rant or whatever. Glad you're here. Welcome to that. 30 minutes later. I will tell you last night, if other counties are looking to try to figure some of this stuff out, yesterday, just as an example of what we do on a daily basis up here, we had a volunteer meeting because we were trying to get more volunteers, more people active. We got a lot of people that can sit around and we can all discuss things. Claire was talking about it earlier. We were all talking about there's a lot of people that like discussing politics and talking about politics. We need more people that are actually involved in doing things. So one of the things that we're going to do is try to get more people active and involved. We have our own office is open 6 days a week. We're open 9 to 5, and then we have meetings afterwards, and people are here a lot more hours than that. And then on Saturday, I think we're open 9:30 to 12:30. And that's for walk-ins and for people to come in. And it's staff. We got one person here at all times, and sometimes there's a couple people. What we want to do is we want to have at least 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people assigned full time all the way here. So we're looking for people that will be willing to come volunteer, a shift or 2 shifts a week, do that type of stuff, a 4-hour shift, or just a couple hours, that type of stuff. I think once you get here, you learn a lot more. A lot of the people that have come and just hang out at the office, start understanding and seeing what we do, they get a lot more excited about it, get more involved. That's a secret, I'll tell you. That's how we suck these people in. That's how we suck all y'all in. All the crazy guys. That's how Presley sucked the rest of us in. So we all blame Presley. It all goes back to him, the ultimate problem of why we're all here doing this. But the more we can get in, the more we can have projects, the more we can get things done. Some of the volunteers last night have jobs, so they can't come and work the hours, but they wanted to do research and wanted to do things. I know you're trying to get some stuff on the library board. We're doing the library, doing that type of stuff. But we're trying to find an outlet for people to be able to help us in as many ways as possible, because we have to get more organized. I will tell you, the establishment, the Lindsey Graham part of the Republican Party, is organized. They're well funded, but they don't have their hearts in the right place. And what we got to do is we got volunteers. We just got to focus them in the right direction, and we got to provide the infrastructure to do that. And what part of our volunteer stuff, what we're working on in our legislative chairs here right now, but what we're going to work on, probably our most successful committee has been our pro-life committee. So the pro-life committee is probably our largest committee. It's an easy thing. A lot of people pro-life get involved in that, go do that. And they've been very effective in what they're doing. And they're very effective at looking at that, now taking it to the next level. We've got a 3-page agenda for the next meeting, long agenda, but that's a joke that we play. But what we're going to do in modeling some of our other committees is we're going to take what the pro-life committee has been doing and try to translate that into some of the structure that they have. They got their own website. They got their own stuff going. They communicate out. They got their own email blast and all that kind of stuff. We want to be able to do that with other legislative issues. I think it's just the library board. If we had something that was either just a page or just if it's big enough, a dedicated website, these are the things that are out there. And then if we can coalesce all the projects, and if we just put a list of projects out there, I think we can find people that may just say, you know what, that's interesting to me. I can help do that one project. We've got a lot of good volunteers. They're pulled in a lot of different directions. Looking at Scott, we volunteer for everything. Don't ask him to do anything, and they'll say yes. I say, Scott, stop you. We want him to stay married, and there. I will tell you, there's nobody else that can do data warehousing like Scott. So I'm like, hey, other people can do other kinds of things. So let's let other people do those types of things, and it helps us. So that's one of the things that we're trying to work on this 2-year period or this term is about delegating, organizing more, growing more, focusing more on candidates, because ultimately candidates is where it's going to be at. But also ultimately, one of the other initiatives is statewide partnerships. And I'll hold it up here for a second. I challenged our pro-life committee to sit there and say, hey, we're not going to get anything passed if Greenville is the only group out there. Even though we're 12%, 14% of the state, we're not going to we can't pass things, right? So, it can't be us alone. It has to be a relationship with partners all across the state. And we got some other good counties that we're working with, but I challenged them. I said, well, find some other partnerships that we can start working with across the state. Came back with this map and all the contacts across the state that we want to work with on the pro-life movement. So, I love it when I say something and somebody goes and does it. It's like, holy moly.
To be clear, I only have a handful of firm contacts, but I have reached out to at least one person. In every county, and several counties I've reached out to at least 2 people.
Folks didn't hear that. We have reached out to one person in every county, and in some counties 2. We have to build, if we want South Carolina to be the most pro-life state, we have to build coalitions with other pro-life groups across the state, and we've got to make it happen. I'll tell you on the library issue, I mean, we fought some of these books in Greenville County 3 years ago. The same book we fought 3 years ago and got taken out of the library here, they're now fighting in Horry County. If we were better organized, better partnerships across the state, we could have let them know what we were doing. They could have fought it back then, maybe gotten a little further ahead.
Here's where the issue arises, because I know some women from the Greenville County Women's Republican group went down there the first week of May to do stuff.
Oh, this year.
And I,
Okay.
and I said, I will come, but, you know, so we've got to get together.
We practice an open door policy. I want people to know what we're doing. I want it to be online. We will find more people being open and transparent about what we're doing so other people can join in. Because there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people that want to find ways to help and that care about things and that can do research and do projects and do that kind of stuff on the side. But some people want to have all the glory and they want to keep it quiet for themselves and, oh, look what we did, and blah, blah. I don't care about the glory. We shouldn't. We care about the mission. We're number one about the mission. And the ultimate mission is the South Carolina Republican platform. I'm okay with the platform the way it's written. It is a strong platform. It was written very strong by the same people that are opposing us trying to get the platform implemented. The same people that wrote the platform that says things about closed primaries, limited government, real school choice, blah, 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 are some of the people that we're fighting. And that's the problem. That's the type of manipulation and the stuff we're trying to teach people to do. And reorg is ultimately where it happens. We just got done with reorg, so we now make the shift of planning for reorg of 2027 and what we got to do to finish that off. Which we have to do is get 75% of the people in every county to walk into their precinct reorgs and their convention and ultimately the state convention and be on our side and vote out the establishment that won't come to the table, the establishment that doesn't want to know the truth about these types of things. And that's what we have to do there, because if we ultimately can take back the Republican Party, we get the bully pulpit, so we can then sit there and get better candidates. Step two, and if you get better candidates, we go right into get better legislation. So we're seeing it up here with what's going on with our county council. We flipped 4 of those seats, I guess, last term, and we got 2 more good ones we need to flip next time. So yeah, next June 9th. So June 9th, 2026, that's going to be where the rubber meets the road. That's where all the exciting stuff is happening. But we got a lot of work between now and then to do that. So we're looking for more, always looking for more people to do that. So anything, anybody want to give an update? You want to talk about the library stuff? You want to talk about pro-life stuff?
I'll be happy to talk about pro-life when you're ready.
Grab a seat and chat and speak so you can hear. Okay. I think it works good enough here. Yeah.
Okay. I'll just go
Oh,
over.
if you use that.
I'll just go over the highlights of my agenda.
Camera. Switch.
All right.
Introduce yourself. Tell them how you got involved and why you're here.
Thank you. I'm Ray Mulholland. I've been involved with pro-life for about 2 years. I joined the Respect Life Ministry at my church. Eventually, I went to the sidewalk to pray in front of the abortion clinic to end abortion, and there's where I met Carrie. She got me involved with the GCRP, and I've been working intensely with the pro-life committee ever since. On May 22nd will be my first meeting as chair of the pro-life committee, and my 2 main directives is number 1, statewide outreach, and number 2, education. And my agenda is basically going to support that. One of the things I'm definitely going to need, though, are volunteers. There's several people in the committee already. I could definitely use more. I can only do so much, so the more volunteers we get, the more will get done as for that committee.
He's got the biggest committee. He wants more volunteers. So somebody's being sent.
Active volunteers.
Yeah,
So
right.
those who can't man gear, those who want to help can't man gear. A lot of stuff I have stuff that can be done at home or on the weekend. So again, I'm looking several volunteers, and I have a list of volunteers, specific jobs I'm looking for, upcoming events. I'm gonna on June 9th, I'm gonna give a talk on the existing abortion law in all three bills. I'm not gonna go necessarily line item by line, but I'm gonna get all the important things. Going to talk about what it means, both the good and the bad. Again, for the existing law, and then all three bills. There's several other events coming up that I'll have posted on my website for people who might be interested. Legislative matters. Supreme Court ruled again in favor of the heartbeat law.
And that was this week.
Yes,
So that ruling came out this week. So the 6-week ban stands.
Yes.
And so that was a very good outcome.
So, yeah, that was a major blow to Planned Parenthood. Medina versus Planned Parenthood, South Atlantic. My understanding, we're not expecting a result till June, till sometime next month. But right now, it's I believe it's 4-2, with several undecided votes.
Is that a U.S. Supreme Court case?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, with the SCOTUS.
Okay.
Uh,
But the case that came out this week was
Yeah.
a state Supreme Court case that held that the 6-week ban is constitutional.
Yes, so that was a major victory that we had this week, and we're grateful for that. We've already talked about the family caucus. We're going to talk about things on where stem cell research and some of the derivative technology is going on, because it's actually very scary. The theory has been proven. They don't have the technology yet, but the theory's been proven. They can take a man's skin cells and make a sperm and an egg, and they can create a baby doing that. So what we're looking at is the ultimate form of incest. A man can have his own child. So we're going to talk about some technological matters, because this affects life in the future. And this is the time where we need to nip it in the bud before things get too carried away and all the liberal emotion gets behind this kind of stuff. Let's see, talked about those.
Just to clarify, folks, when you said there are 3 bills that are out there, and we did have Representative McCravey come speak at the Greenville GOP earlier this year. And McCravey, one comment that I really appreciated that he said, because it happens to all of us, he was promised if they did not push the pro-life bill in 2024, it would be one of the first bills up in 2025. They didn't come through. They didn't want to touch it for whatever reason. I don't really know. I mean, school choice was supposed to be the first thing, and it came up, and they didn't sign the bill until I think May 7th, and it's not even school choice that we like because it's government run. But those were their priorities. It didn't happen to the end of the session, but they would not even bring up the pro-life bill. And there's three bills. There's the equal protection, which would be you look at it from that perspective, on the far right, bans everything, bans. It's just the full Monty is the equal protection bill. McCravey's bill, some people aren't happy with it, but it's more in the middle. That'd be correct. It's something that they think they should be able to get past. It's a step. I'm okay with incrementalism, getting to certain places. I don't like seeing a step further back, which is what happened in school choice. We had very good school choice that was not government run, and they stepped all the way back into what is essentially a voucher program, which gives full control to the government. Makes no sense whatsoever. But then, what is the third bill, and who's pushing that? Is that more the establishment bill?
That was Cash. He's on the Senate. Okay. Senator Cash promoted it. It's very, in many ways, it's similar to McCravey's bill on the House side. He adds a lot more detail into it.
Okay.
And that's what, as far as exactly what that detail is, that's what I'll be covering in my June 9th.
You got numbers on those
Motion
bills?
outreach.
Do you have identified numbers on those?
So, and I think, even though a lot of our
I'm trying to begin to change coming up.
no, it'll be the same bill.
Yeah, it's the
next
same
year.
bill.
Pass them, or-
Not off the top of my head, but
Okay. But I think most people have come up with their support of the McCravey bill, And then McCravey obviously got upset about it and said, "Why are you not pushing it? You promised me." I mean, it's a natural thing to do. I mean, somebody promised you something, you should bring up the fact that they broke their promises. And you look at what they did to the family caucus. So what happened, and I don't know if a lot of people know about it, but there's the Freedom Caucus, which is one thing. Then there's the Family Caucus, which there were a lot of establishment people on the Family Caucus because you think it's kind of an easy thing to get into. But I think with McCravey pushing it, who was the founder of the Family Caucus, and I don't think they call him the chairman. I think they call him the moderator of the Family Caucus. But there was a concerted effort by the establishment to lead en masse the Family Caucus, and I think it was 29
signed a letter to leave the caucus.
Right. And that's House and Senate. So they wasn't like just on one side. It was Family Caucus. There's House member, Senator Josh Kimbrell, who tells people things in private about how he supports pro-life. He left and wrote and signed a letter. There was all of the, I mean, it was almost very amazing. And I think it may end up turning into being something similar to the sister senators, the three state senators that got targeted in their elections, and all three lost because of their more Democratic skin on the pro-life issue. And this would be probably another target list of 29. That why would you lead the Family Caucus when they promised your caucus they would bring this up? It's your leadership bill, and a lot of them were sponsors of that bill. And because I guess McCravey made an issue about it, they got upset. And they used, I will tell you what the excuse they used is the Students for Life apparently went and did knocked on 400 doors, and they also did literature drops at the churches of 2 or 3 legislators. I think it was Weston Newton and then maybe someone else. I don't know exactly who, but they did put literature on cars saying support this, and I guess that upset somebody. Why somebody wouldn't want the people at their church knowing what they're doing? Yeah, you tell me. So maybe they shouldn't be doing it if they don't want the other people at their church knowing what they're doing. So I don't think it was in bad taste. I haven't seen it. I'll get a look at it and see. But the Students for Life is a national group. They didn't like the national group coming in doing that, but they are certainly very happy to get that national group dark money for the things that they do want. So I found that very interesting. So we'll try to expand upon it and teach people a little bit more about how that process works.
And I never really understood the connection between what an individual organization does and McCravey was, other than the fact that they listened to him. But
I think they did something on the steps of the state house. He just went out and stood with them. I don't know if he actually did very much. So
it's the whole thing's very questionable. Their excuses, and some of their excuses are even self-contradictory.
Yes, very much.
We don't need to go into great detail. All I'm going to say is I promise you that these names will be available in 2 years when people start coming up for re-election.
Yes. So, and in 2 years, well, actually less than 2 years, it's June 9th, 2026. All the House reps will be up for election. And then in 2 years after that, June of 28, that's when all the House reps again, but also all the state senators. So we're obviously what we're interested in here about all the state senators that voted against Curtis Loftus. So that's what our target list will be, senators that did support Curtis Loftus. So they are building their own resumes. And one of the things that we're going to be doing with the legislative committee, one of the things we can do through the party and maybe through some of our other organizations is scorecards. And we're going to put those scorecards online. They're going to sit there. They're going to be like, here's how your people voted. Here's what they did. And they're going to be there from now for the next 4 years until we get through all those election cycles. And we don't want to forget that. I mean, it's easy. One of the things that we did in 2021 was to point out Representative Richie Yao, who's a House Republican out of, I think, Camden, Kershaw County. He literally came out and when Vince Shaheen was running against Henry Gustafson in 2020 in the primaries. So, in the November elections. Henry was our Republican nominee. Vince Shaheen had run for governor twice. He was the guy that called. He said, we're going to show. This was about Nikki Haley. We're going to show the hoe. He was the one that made national news, calling Nikki Haley a whore. Yeah, I mean, this is the Democrat that did that, but he's a lawyer, legislator, very powerful. I think his father had been a state senator as well. We knew him because we fought him because he was the lead Democrat against us in school choice. He was also the lead Democrat promoting the First Steps program, which Stuart Jones and the Freedom Caucus made permanent law, gave more money, but those lawyers, but the library board. I don't know how many library employees are conservative, but they put library employees on all these First Steps pre-K reading programs, and that was the Freedom Caucus that did that, and that's why that's probably why they won't talk to us because I keep asking that question. But Richie Yao, a couple days before the election, came out and did a video endorsement of Senator Ben Shaheen in that November election. Why would a Republican House rep come out and endorse a Democrat state senator against a Republican? If we did it, if I did it, I'd get kicked out of the party. If he was part of the party, he would get kicked out, but he's just a Republican that's running for office or in office. But I mean, that's the type of stuff. Now, Penry ended up not being very good as a Republican, but guess what? Got Ben Shaheen out. Penry was in there for 4 years. We got Penry out, now we got another Republican in there. That's I hope better. I'm not sure who exactly it is, but Penry was one of those 3 sister senators that got the boot. But it's you just got to watch, dig a little bit deeper on all this type of stuff. When we came in today, there was some paperwork for Doge SC. We're still doing the analysis of Doge SC. Ron Reedy out of Charleston or out of Isle of Palms is pushing that type of thing. But when you look at it, and I've spent an hour on the phone with him, I've met some of the people that are working with him. The guy that he hired to run Doge SC, young kid, he's a former AFP employee, Americans for Prosperity, the people that were doing all the Never Trump stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, why are you hiring a guy from AFP we're MAGA America First. Isn't Doge is a Trump thing, right? They take the name Doge and call it SC, and that's what we want to do. And you start thinking it's Trump, and then it's like all of a sudden, well, you've hired Never Trumpers. And then their main advisor is a political consultant, nice enough guy. I don't have particular issues with him or whatever, but a guy by the name of Wes Donahue. Wes Donahue, go look at Push Digital. That's his company. Go look at who is the chief operating officer for Push Digital, a guy by the name of Scott Farmer, who I've never met or talked to. He worked for Lindsey Graham for 20-something years. He just left Lindsey Graham the year before last. He was one that ran all his campaigns. He's now working with Push Digital. Look at Push Digital. It's pushing all of the Lindsey Graham stuff. It's what they do. It's the establishment side of it, but it's not Trump. It's not MAGA America First. And you're either on this team for the people, or you're just a political consultant or a politician that is trying to manipulate and make it sound like you're part of us, but you're not really us. So us, yeah.
How much are they really?
How much are they? I don't know. I asked them, I'm like, who's giving policy? Who's running policy for your organization? Oh, well, Ron's running policy, but he's got some advisors. I'm like, okay, well, who are his advisors? They wouldn't tell me the names of their advisors. I'm like,
Ron hasn't voted in primaries since.
I looked him up in our voter database.
And
He personally had not voted in a primary since June of 2010. Why were we listening to anybody who has not participated in the primaries just because he has a lot of money and donated $1 million to Trump? He voted. Let me clarify the $1 million donation.
So it sounds like they formed a Doge, so nobody would really form a Doge.
Right. We have always preached that Doge are you, the people. We are Doge. We do the research. We get in there. We file FOIAs. We question. We got to organize better with it. But we sit there and push all that type of stuff. But it's not some organization that's don't know where all the money comes from. Maybe it all comes from him. It's all kind of in the background. But Ron Reedy was hosting fundraisers at his home for Ron DeSantis. So he was sitting there doing Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis drops out. He then donates $30,000 to Donald Trump, came to the big dinner that they had up here in Greenville when Trump came to town. And then he donated the $960,000 to Trump's campaign, which I asked him about it. And he acts like he's big into Trump. And I'm like, well, you do realize you donated that $960,000 the day after Nikki Haley dropped out of the primary. That's interesting time. And even him, he said, well, how do you know that? I'm like, look at FEC.gov. I mean, you've got to realize that information is out there. And those are challenging questions to ask people. And I haven't heard from them since, and they don't. And the other thing that was out there is the young kid that they hired for the AFP to do this. He is dating the communications person or engaged to the Abby Zilch, the communications person at the SCGOP. If I was dating, I wasn't married long enough, dating the executive director of the SCGOP, I would. I wouldn't. But I mean, wouldn't you have some questions? I mean, and it's just like it's like they hammered this at the Charleston convention, and this was part of the corruption that went on during the reorg process. The Charleston convention, they handled it with a voice vote. So imagine we had our convention. We're sitting there. We've got our temporary president. This is the first big vote you have. Who's going to kind of control, manage the convention and call the balls and strikes. So, you want to win that temporary president the position first. Well, they handled it on voice vote. They had, the establishment guy that got put up, and then the America First person, and they're like the yays and the nays, and they go by voice vote. I've listened to the audio tape. It sounds like our people won. Yes, the audio tape was probably by somebody in our group and our people, so it's probably closer. But I mean, if there's any doubt, if it was just 10% of the people, you have a ballot. Write it down. I mean, if the establishment was not afraid that they were going to lose, they would have just done a ballot. Why not? But they did that on that original vote for the temporary president, and they did it for all the leadership votes. That's what really got crazy, is when they did it for the leadership votes and for the slate of delegates that went to Charleston or went to the state convention. So even though Charleston had 70 votes, 2 years ago we had 68 of the votes. This year we had 0. So when we lost Charleston because of these shenanigans, because of this voice vote, it was kind of like, I knew we weren't going to, be able to defeat Drew McKissick, but that was the whole point. Now, for those of us that were at the state convention, do y'all remember who got the award for the chairman of the year? The Charleston County chair. He delivered the 70 votes for Drew McKissick that were 68 votes for us 2 years ago. And that's why he got, I guess, chairman of the year. But the other interesting fact that's out there is the person that they voted to be the temporary chair was a former executive director of the SCGOP, who was also a gay guy that's married, which, whatever, do all that. But what's worse about it is he's married to a guy who is a Democratic consultant, commentator in D.C. I mean, I get the whole old days of what was the who's the big Democratic guy that was married to a Republican lady, James Carville and his wife. Yeah, that was one thing. But I'm like, why are we picking people that number one are establishment and number two married to Democratic? I mean, I just say it makes no sense. But that's just what's going on. That's just part of the whole process. But there's most people, they don't believe this stuff until you actually see it. So that's why we try to communicate it and let people know what's going on with it. Because it's truth is stranger than fiction, or fiction. I mean, the reality of what goes on in the party is just amazing. And I will tell you, I did see an email. It was from back in February, and it was an email from the state party to a particular county about prospects that they should recruit come to reorg. And the prospect list that they sent to this particular county was a prospect list of Lindsey Graham supporters. I will tell y'all, and we're open about it, we do not call people to come to reorg that are Lindsey Graham supporters. We call them for Trump supporters, MAGA America First, all that kind of stuff. If you supported Nikki, we're not calling you asking you to join the party. we're open and honest about that. Okay. I mean, I think that's okay. They do the other side. They act like they're Trump supporters, but then they're out there. Oh, let's get Lindsay people in here, Nikki Haley people in here because they're going to support the Truth McKissick in the establishment. So that's just part of the whole lesson. So thanks for the update on the pro-life committee. Anybody have questions, concerns, thoughts they'd like to talk about? We did two meetings yesterday. We did the volunteer meeting. And then we did a meeting after that where it is our legislative liaison committee. Our chair is here for that. What we're going to do is, as I said earlier, model what we do, what our guys, Ray and Carrie, have done with the pro-life committee, and try to take that, provide some extra resources to take that to the next level with the website. We're going to realign all of our signal chats so we can kind of get more people aligned where the signal chats are more focused on projects and doing things, because that's what it's all about. We got to get people doing things. So, and that's why I love doing this online, because people can sit at home and watch it and actually, instead of driving here, feel like they did everything. So you're sitting at home, you're watching it, and you can also be, searching the web and researching some other projects.
I can say one thing. I'll
Yes.
turn the chair over to the library.
If you like to.
Yeah, I don't want to sit there.
As far as the volunteers go, I've looked over all the committees that the GCRP has, and rather than us do a lot of this work, I'd much rather actually cooperate with them. So if you get your volunteers to flesh out some of these other committees that you have listed, that would actually help me out tremendously. I have a lot of information for many of them that I could help them get off on a good start.
There's a lot of crossover between committees, and that's why we need designated committees doing certain things, but there's a lot of crossover that relates to it. And we had one really good example last night. Think about what we're doing on the legislative committee and the reporting we'll do in regards to the voting records and the scorecards and all that. That will help our campaign, our candidate recruitment committee and some things like that, to kind of know where to hone down. The way we're splitting it up here in Greenville, just so some other people can kind of visualize this from a legislative piece, is we've got different levels of legislation. Everybody knows the federal stuff. And we don't do a lot of stuff on the federal level, but we are going to, we want to monitor it, and then we want to, I kind of thought about it, after the congressional race we had up here, last June, is, we don't really follow the legislative. I didn't know whether William Timms had a good voting record or not. I was told it, and I was like, well, let's go look it up. And, strangely, it does have a good voting record. That doesn't always mean everything. They vote the right way, but, I'm not always sold on just voting record. So we looked at the voting record, but I think we want to at least know enough to be able to know whether these federal level people are actually doing the right thing. So that's why we have, a limited federal level. But, the most important thing, I like looking at the state level. We got a lot of things at the county level, but what's really important too is the municipal level. We have 6 cities in Greenville County. We have the city of Greenville, we got Travelers Rest, we got Greer, we got Simpsonville, we got Malden, and we got Fountain Inn. We need somebody that will go to each of those meetings. We now have people that go to the library board meetings. I don't think 4 years ago we even knew there was a library board. So think about where we've come. Like, we're not perfect yet. Look what we've done. Look at all the stuff. Greenville County was sued by the ACLU this week for things related to the library. 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, maybe it was just 2. ACLU threatened us that, because people, this was just on the election side. Think about this. ACLU sent a letter saying, if you don't let people wear whatever shirt or hat they want to the polling locations, then we're going to sue you, because people wanted to wear Black Lives Matters and all that kind of stuff. Our election board caved immediately. And I'm like, if I'd asked that same question, if I'd said, hey, the law allows this is unconstitutional to stop somebody from wearing a Trump shirt to an election. I don't know how it fits, or MAGA shirt or something like that. But if I had said that, they wouldn't have done it. The ACLU threatened to sue, and they caved immediately. So now you can wear a hat or whatever, Make America Great hat to the polling location. But that was something that the ACLU threatened. I actually don't care if they sue. Let them sue. You know, we need to, I mean, don't cave to, because of lawfare. And that's what our side has to get better at it. We are getting better at it. If you look at Judicial Watch and some of those things that they do, they're pushing that envelope on things. So I think that's pretty exciting. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention names, but one of the members on county council talked to me about the threat of being sued. And in his opinion, anyway, he thinks that a lot of the action could take if they feel that they could win. Whereas before, mere threat would have shut the meeting down.
Right.
And I do think that's a reasonable concern on his that, well, I'm not afraid to get sued, but are we going to win? And I don't want to waste time and money if it's a foregone.
There is a balancing to
Yeah.
it, but what you're saying is right. In the old days, they would just cave just under the threat of a lawsuit. That's a problem, and that's what we can't stand or tolerate anymore. So because that's how the left beat us. I mean, they sued us into oblivion, and or just threatened it, and we just roll over for it. People were scared about some of the stuff on the left. Let them sue. Let's deal with it. I mean, why can they buy pornographic books and put it in the library in the children's section under right? And but they don't buy Christian books, and they don't buy other stuff. I've been binge watching all this Bible stuff, and it's fascinating. It's great stuff to watch. Olga gets turned off because we don't realize how violent it was back in the old days. So the Romans and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, it's amazing to watch and what you can learn. But the stories are there. And that to me is more educational to the whole process. So, but that's part of it. I will tell you, if you're a listener to Bill Frady, I think probably right now it's probably too late for us to grab into it. But he was going to be interviewing Nancy Mace.
Yeah.
On the radio this morning. So they decided to come up. We'll put it out later, her interview with that. But somebody threatened some 19-year-old transgender kid that he was going to put on social media that he was going to, I guess, kill her, murder her. And he wasn't joking.
He's from Greenville.
And he's from Greenville. And his bond hearing was today. And I think it was at 9:30 this morning. And she was there. So we talked to her people on the way up. And it was, they were going to get on the show and talk to Bill Frady about it. So I think it's fascinating. It's interesting. I do think she's pushing the envelope on a lot of things, and it's definitely going to be an interesting governor's race next year. So, but right now, as far as I know, in the governor's race, there's Pamela Vett, there's Alan Wilson. Pamela Vett's the current lieutenant governor. There's Alan Wilson, who's the current attorney general. Josh Kimbrell has said he has interest in it. Nancy Mace out there doing a lot of stuff, and then we have heard rumblings of Ralph Norman. Yes, so at least we know there's 5. I don't know if Ralph Norman will actually do it or not. There was also discussions that he may run for U.S. Senate, but I don't think he's going to run against $100 million Lindsey Graham guy. But but we'll see where that all goes. But I mean, of those, if you think Josh Kimbrell, Pamela Vett, Alan Wilson, I mean, what good choices are any of those? I mean, Josh Kimbrell dropped out of the family caucus over this issue with Representative McCraven in a pro-life bill, but he'll tell you he's the most pro-life guy out there. And I'm like, why are you dropping out of that? It doesn't make any sense. Alan Wilson is not prosecuting pedophiles. He has let a ton of people off. And I'll bring up the example again, the individual that was the former chair before Pamela Godwin for the Lexington County GOP got indicted for embezzling $60-some thousand from the Lexington County GOP. Fortunately, he got indicted because Pamela would not surrender, and she kept pushing the information. David Pasco got involved and got it pushed around. Solicitor Stumbo indicted him because Pasco was first district. The district solicitor over Lexington County recused himself because he's family friends with all those people. And so they got Stumbo out of the Greenwood area, judicial district. I don't know which one, but they gave him time served. So they went and arrested him. He was in jail for maybe a couple hours while they processed him through that. He got his mugshot and all that kind of stuff. He got 8 years probation and time served. While they're trying to put me in 90 days of jail, saying I I did not willfully comply with the judge's order. Number one, I'd be insane not to do what a judge told me to do. I am a lawyer and member of the bar. It could get me in a lot of trouble. I'm not going to do that. And number two, it's never been heard of that they would put somebody in jail for 90 days for a willful contempt on a civil case that I filed against them because they put out a website that had said that I was forging documents. And I'm like, it's slander, it's defamatory. I literally, the one piece of the evidence that would have proven who had put the website out, the judge would not let me get that evidence. You can go set up an anonymous website all over the place. You have a First Amendment right. You can say whatever you want from an anonymous perspective under the First Amendment about somebody, but you cannot slander them. You cannot defame them. When they sit there and say, I forged documents, just like this lady sitting there telling people that there's an arrest warrant out for me and there's a bench warrant out for my arrest, you can't say those things. And I asked the judge at Discovery to authorize a subpoena for the website company to disclose who the domain owner was. Because I'm sure the guy was dumb enough. I know who the guy is. I think he was dumb enough to pay for it on his credit card. The judge said, no, I couldn't get it. It's incredible. And it killed the whole case. And then they said, then they claimed it's a frivolous case and I got to pay part of their fees. So I owe them $40,000 for them putting out a defamatory website. So we'll see where that goes. We're fighting it. The state Supreme Court has put it on hold, and we're doing some stuff, remanded back to the judge who's now retired, but he kept my case.
But that was for embezzlement, correct? Not pedophilia.
That was for the defamation case.
Okay.
The embezzlement, misappropriation.
Alan Wilson.
Oh, Alan Wilson?
Yeah, about
Oh, yes,
letting.
yes. That was for the embezzlement case with Craig Caldwell, whose family owns a trust company
Mhm.
in Lexington County. So, and the dad is still involved with the state, with the party down there and all that. It's the whole thing is crazy. But what do you think they would do to me or anybody like me that would embezzle $60,000 for the party?
Oh, yeah.
Number one, y'all would all kill me first. Number two, you certainly wouldn't let me back in, but he's participating in the party. Yes.
Alan Wilson is not enforcing the abortion law.
Yes.
It is impossible to get the abortion pill through mail and comply with South Carolina law. And unlike Tennessee and I believe Texas, who have actually set up stings to persecute these people, Alan Wilson has not taken any action.
Right. And that's one of the things I think it'll become a campaign issue.
Mhm.
Attorney General is to enforce the law.
Mhm.
He has to enforce whatever the law is. If the law said you can go into somebody's house and there's the constitutional things, but so there's those other issues. But there is a law apparently on the books that says you cannot mail order, the abortion pill.
Well, all the requirements and the bills are going to make it more explicit, but even with the existing law, certain things have to happen, like ultrasounds. You're not going to get an ultrasound over the internet.
Right.
And there's certain information has to be provided. And there's a whole list of things. And what we can actually do at local levels is county solicitors can also have the authority to pursue this. And actually the woman or the guardians of a minor can sue as well. Of course, they're probably not going to have the funds that the Attorney General and county solicitors have, but this is part of the educational outreach. It's that we can actually do this at local level. We can get county solicitors where we might not get the AG to do things like that. It doesn't need to be this county. It's happening all over the state.
Right. But is there any solicitors that are doing? Yeah.
Not yet, but I wonder how many even know or even care. But if we could get this educational outreach,
we can document it up. What I'd like to do, this is a project. Think about this. This is where we need more volunteers doing stuff. We can talk about it. It's not going to do us any good until, guess what? We write a letter. We write a letter to our solicitor here in Greenville, Greenville Pickens solicitor. What's his name? The solicitor? Greenville. Walt Wilkins. We need to do a letter. We will do it on Greenville GOP letterhead. Send it to Solicitor Wilkins. Say this appears to be the law. And, why is this not being enforced? Let him respond to it. Let's challenge these people. I think everything is a challenge. I'm not a guy, I will tell you, I'll give you an example. I'm not a guy that goes to Assistant County Council meetings that holds up pieces of paper and all that kind of stuff.
No, I write emails.
I'm not that guy, but I was sitting in the front row a couple of meetings ago. Carrie comes up to me, they were held it. She gives it to me, and I'm like, I got to do it. To me, it was a test. I don't think she was testing me, but I'm like, you know what? We're asking these people to go out there and be silent, protest, and do stuff. I got to be able to do it too.
You cannot ask someone to do something you're not
Right.
doing.
That's right.
And that was funny. That was kind of my reputation at the Citadel. I was hard on the freshmen, but the freshmen that when I was in cadre, the training cadre, and all that kind of stuff, I was hard. I mean, they were hard on me when I was a freshman, so that was no big deal. But I was hard on them. But I was not the guy. They knew that I'd never asked them to do anything I wasn't willing to do. So I mean, there were some people in the Citadel that they were picked on in their freshman year, and they were going to re-bully. They were going to be even worse. Or what was really bad, there were some of them that actually got off on they were either football players or stuff like that. So they got off on everything, but then they were super mean to the freshmen when they were older. It's like, what kind of weird psychological thing is this? But I mean, I think the freshmen that I dealt with, hopefully they don't come out of the woodwork and start posting on Facebook saying that guy's crazy. He was the worst. But we we pushed them hard. But I mean, that's why a lot of the kids went to the Citadel. We went to be challenged, and we wanted to challenge ourselves, and that's why we pushed them pretty hard. And it was fun. But it's we can't ask people to do stuff if we're not willing to do it too. A lot of people are nervous. Door knocking, I will tell you, the first time I knocked on the door, I had a law degree, an MBA. I worked for billionaires. I'd done all kinds of stuff. I appeared in court. I'd done a whole lot of things, but I'd never knocked on the door, and I was scared to death. I was like, this is, who wants to go? Who knows what's on the other side of that door? What crazy person's in there? But I mean, now I'll go knock on any door, and I don't really care. But I mean, that it's. And I'm not challenging it. It's okay if people aren't comfortable with door knocking. We got other ways to find people, social media canvassing, call banking, emails, text, things of that nature. But get comfortable with some of these things. They're personal challenges. I was not comfortable door knocking, but I knew I had to get comfortable door knocking and going and talking to people. So some people really like door knocking, or some people really don't. So, but I mean, look at all of this as a way to professionally develop and grow your own personal skills to be able to do that. So we're good there. What else would we like to chat about?
So the library committee, one big thing that we did, and people don't realize what a big thing it is to have gotten all these books taken out of the children's and young adult section, and now you can no longer put those books. They were trans books, really pornography. A lot in the young adults is stuff that literally would just be an X-rated movie. But what happened was it really set a huge precedent for the whole country, because they're seeing that this little city in South Carolina, these people were able to get books banned from the children. Like, it's huge because we have so many coming against us, and they are so loud. And now they're just loud even when they don't need to be. So this thing, the library has more money. It's very confusing. They have a $27 million surplus, so they wanting to give money back to the county and lower the tax millage. But then they were asking the county's permission to give this ridiculous raise all the way across the board to every single employee. So they said no. But what people don't realize, in South Carolina, to get any type of funding from South Carolina for the libraries, there is literal wordage of what types of books you are allowed to put in the children's section. And it is written out straight up. And so basically that was the first thing we came at, is you can't do this and still get money from the state or the ALA, because the ALA is a big thing. They're the ones that get all the employees in the library. That's why there's so many trans and gays, because they go on their websites to recruit people. But as far as with the books, the whole thing is now we got the books out. So now the ACLU is gonna sue because they're saying we're being prejudiced. Well, I talked to a library board member and she said this could be a good thing because it'll make the board members specify exactly. And then that will be the precedent forever. You can't change it. You won't be, unless another board comes in and changes. But in the meantime, we as a committee are keeping an eye on any books coming in now. Or, so there's certain authors, we know they're trash books. So now we have to make sure the libraries, any of them, are not putting them on the wrong shelf. So that takes a lot of time. But if we don't do it, we can't call them out. And so when this lawsuit happens, we have people, and this is where we need more people, anyone. If there is a book that you know of that is a good book, there is a super easy on the library website. You can go on and request that book. You just need to know the name of the book, the author, and the year it was published. That's all you have to do. And then they will respond. Save your response. Because when they say they're being prejudiced, it's the opposite. They're being prejudiced against us. 9 out of 10 books are never put on the shelf that we request. But automatic trash books get on the shelf. As soon as that author's book is published, it automatically gets ordered from the Greenville County Library. So,
and that's the type of work that the left does. The left is very organized about it. They will sit down and probably have a meeting and a bunch of them get together and they will sit there and do that and push those books. And that's how their agenda gets pushed out there. We on the right, as conservatives, we really don't like hanging around. I would love to be doing anything other than this. I'd love to be sitting on a mountain or in a cave somewhere doing nothing all by myself or watching TV. But they are more social. They're more social than we are.
And the thing, one thing they do is they go on, because one of the board members was going to send me something and she was very afraid to do that because these groups we're fighting against, they're figuring out how to infiltrate us and see what our plans are, what we're working on. And so, I was able to get in on that one meeting, but I would love to continue to follow. It's more important to follow what's happening right now in Charleston because they are sending people to Greenville to help them fight against us. Because they're so strong in Charleston right now. It's horrible in Charleston in the books. So
I'm going to play the video that we did 3 years ago that kind of got this whole thing started. It is the book that I think they're fighting in Horry County. Oh, you said that's the exact same book?
It's the same author. It's
Different.
That series. But you will see the cover and it looks very similar, just different color.
And I'll tell you why we did this video. And part of it may get cut out here a little
We
bit.
did a video, I'll tell you, because Jeff did not believe me. I found it. That in children's section, I brought it home. I went to the library one day, brought a bunch of books, brought it home, showed it to Jeff, and he's like, there is no way that was in kids section. It was Sunday. I'm like, well, let's go.
Well, in the other flip side of it, I was being harassed by a ton of library employees, they were all over me on social media, emailing, text, all this stuff, all attacking me saying, those books are not in the children's section. And I not physically been down there. I said, "Oh, you sure they're down there? No, you, please tell me. Don't tell me we started a stink about something and they're not really there."
Because we were out west when all this went down.
And this is the video that we made, and it's literally went to like there's two pieces of this video, but I'll play the video. Y'all can see it up on the screen. This is actually just a test to see if we can actually
Hi,
play it.
this is Jeff Davis, chairman of the Greenville County Republican Party.
And part of the
We've
test
had a
we
lot of
failed
people
already.
reach out to us lately, especially employees of the Greenville County. Hi, this is Jeff Davis, chairman of the Greenville County Republican Party. We've had a lot of people reach out to us lately, especially employees of the Greenville County Library.
Got feedback on the mics.
Where's All right, I'll turn that off. Turn the mic off. Okay, we'll start over. Sorry about that.
This is Jeff Davis, chairman of the Greenville County Republican Party. We've had a lot of people reach out to us lately, especially employees of the Greenville County Library System, and tell us these books were not accessible to children. So I went down personally today to the Hughes Main Library and found where these books were shelved. They were right underneath a stuffed animal, right by the children's computers, and a box of toys. Probably 20 or 30 kids around there. Interesting, right? Call your county councilman and let him or her know your opinion. Thank you.
So that was the first video. Oh, this is how we got it.
Hi, this is Jeff Davis, chairman of the Greenville County Republican Party. These are books checked out from the children's section at the Greenville County Library. Interesting material for a children's section, right? To be clear, we're not talking about banning books. None of us want to promote that, as these books may be important to certain families and children in specific situations. However, we just do not agree that they should be promoted to children without parental consent by a public institution. And for that reason, they should be placed in the adult section of the library for parents to access them if they so choose. Please call your county councilman and let him or her know your opinion as well. Thank you and have a great day.
It's crazy and it's actually real. And a lot of people forget. I haven't looked at that video in probably two plus years, but I'm like, yeah, that was what was in the children's section. That's nobody here. That was the next video.
That,
There we go.
yes, yeah, some of the books were even worse than that.
Yes, but that was one, and we were even uncomfortable putting some of those pictures on there. And you know,
Yes.
we blurred it out of the second video. The first video apparently we didn't. So I apologize if that's offensive to people. But that's what children were seeing. And now let me add the extra bonus that happened that Sunday, as we were walking out of the children's section of the library. If you know, you go in there, you go all the way back. We were walking out. We had talked to the employees that were in the children's section. They told us and they showed us all the stuff. And we're walking out, and I looked to my left, but there's a lot of seating area. There was an adult, our size, adult size, wearing diapers and pajamas,
Well,
sitting there.
He had a pacifier in his mouth.
Had a
was
pacifier.
Sitting with a teddy bear holding.
Was he wearing diapers too, or is that?
I think the diaper happened at Unity Park.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was wearing pajamas, pacifier, and had a
Teddy bear.
teddy bear with him. And I'm like, this is not normal. So I went back and asked the library employees, what the situation was. And they said, yeah, his parents drop him off or something, and not so. I mean, I was like, but they were okay with it. Now, this same person, I think a couple weeks later, was arrested in Unity Park, the local park, wearing a diaper and
There was like a onesie.
a onesie.
Yeah.
And
Some people are starting to take up the issue of the homeless that are allowed
Right.
to hang out in there.
Right.
Quite a few.
I get it. If there's homeless people, they're going and they sit in. There's issues there. I mean,
So I think.
but I mean, in the children's section, no.
we
that was-
we
that was-
discovered that he was staying. His parents he was 18 or 19, like he was not a kid. His parents, I think, were kicking him out of the house, whatever. So he was staying at the Miracle Hill shelter, and then I found his YouTube. So some people were claiming that he was mentally unstable, whatever, but then he was stable enough to have a YouTube channel and record himself
Doing it.
with his bears and stuffed animals at the shelter, talking about walking into the shelter, that he had a curfew because the shelter has was a curfew order. So I think one of our members raised that issue with the shelter because, you know, there are a lot of people that are vulnerable that are staying there. So I think they may have kicked him out of there. Anyway, it was just a messy story and situation. But he was consciously making decision to wear what he was wearing. He was not like a person that doesn't know what pacifier is and have to do it because they still think they're a 5-year-old child. Obviously, he was having issues having been doing that, but he could have made a decision to dress differently, not in a diaper.
So,
I don't know where he is today.
but that's why I got so upset about the Freedom Caucus when they did this First Steps accountability bill, and they added to the law that, you know, that they had to put a library board or library employee on the board of each one of these First Steps programs. I can't find any library employees that are conservative. I can't find a student that is in a library sciences major that is conservative. So it's like they automatically put a liberal on every one of these pre-K learning programs for young children. And it makes literally no sense. And I'm like a dog with a bone. They're going to answer the question at some point in time. Why are you supporting this? Which is the same thing in issues and concerns I have with why is the reading clerk at the South Carolina House of Representatives inviting all of the new reps, this is now 3 years ago, to his house, and the main entertainer was an individual by the name of Patio Furniture. This is, you know, he's gay, whatever, a drag queen, but why is, you know, the reading clerk is a powerful person.
And guess what? On Ash Wednesday, the same reading clerk on the desk on the top of the South Carolina State House with a big ash cross on his head. I'm like, you cannot be doing that and having, I mean, you can, but it's just
contradictory.
It just makes no sense. And I will share with y'all the, you know, since I'm going to get good at this. I'm going to share that screen with the Patio Furniture article that we put out, which I'm sure has not made me any friends at the State House, because this is Patio Furniture, drag queen show at the State House. Oh, hold on. I'm not good at it yet. Boom. Add to stage. Okay. So here is, let's see if I can see both of them. Uh-oh, did I?
Yep, there it is.
Oh, I think I closed out.
No, you
No.
can see it.
I'm still moving?
No, it's 10 seconds behind.
It's like a delay, yeah.
There's a 10
It's
second
a little
delay.
delay, so you're
Yeah.
not seeing it.
Okay.
You are moving.
Which one
Yes,
is
you just
it?
wave.
The one in the middle.
Okay, so I am
The
still.
red hair or the bikini
No, the
underwear?
pink dressed up.
Pretty.
Make sure we get their Christmas party done then.
Oh, so it is up there. Okay.
Looked in the mirror and said, wow, I look good.
So so that is Patio Furniture. This was the person that was providing entertainment for the Christmas party that the House reading clerk was inviting everybody, the new House reps that all got elected conservatives. And actually it was, you know, to give credit where credit is due, it was a House rep that was a new House rep that was a member of the Freedom Caucus now, that is now pushing judicial reform. Not always happy with me, but he's pushing judicial reform. But that was, you know, this is the invitation. And it's like, that's the House reading clerk. That is the person that is sitting there. A bill comes across here. The reading clerk gets the bill, reads it out, hands it to the Speaker of the House, who then hands it to the next person, the next clerk after their reason. This is a person that has influence over the legislation that's out there. She is not a happy person, but that's Bubba Cromer. Bubba Cromer, and they did try to make an effort to not reelect him this time. I will tell you Thomas Beach voted for him, which made no sense for him. I will tell you my House rep, which most people get upset and calls an establishment guy, Paul Wickensheimer, voted against re-electing Bubba Cromer to that position. It's very confusing what goes on, but that is what goes on at our state house. And it's just like, you almost can't believe what's going on. It's incredible. And what they don't want is people revealing it. They went after Representative McCravey because he talked about, hey, you people saying you're for pro-life, we're having to talk a lot about pro-life today, but I'm like, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing in school choice. It's the same thing on judicial reform, closed primaries. Oh, the governor won't sign a bill. If we get it passed for closed primaries, the governor won't sign it. It's all excuses. It's all excuses. Yes, Ron.
That's just a good point. What this has done, though, is turned a lot of good action by local people like our group here. To give a lot of credit to Terry for following Mike Cameron.
Yeah, Kirk Cameron.
Kirk Cameron, yes.
In the libraries.
Yes.
So we went down as Christians and conservatives to read books
Right.
to the kids.
Right.
Good books.
Yes.
And that's why we need more people here. That's the point of having these committees. We got to have people ready to go.
Right.
Response now.
Right.
Not wait down 2 weeks or a year later. We need people who can get on the phone. Hey, something's happening at the library. Check it out.
Right.
And I want to make a mention that video you had there about going down to take that video at the library. I went down there myself afterwards because I'm a little bit from Missouri, maybe, but I had to see it. I went down there, checked out the book, and the security guard came over and says, "You're not allowed in this area." And there was a guy sitting there right at the entrance to the children's area. And I said, well, there's an adult there. And he said, well, we know him.
You're
He's a
kidding.
regular. Okay.
Oh.
And the guy went on to explain their procedures. He said, there's 200 to 300 pedophiles located within a mile or two of this library. They know all this stuff.
Yeah.
They know who they are. They let them come in there. They sit there. It was up. I think this, wow.
And that,
They wanted me out of that.
and that's what I think the Trump movement has been. I was a Bush guy. I was, Reagan guy, Bush guy, 1 and 2, and all that kind of stuff. I know I voted for John McCain. I mean, I thought Mitt Romney was fantastic, a business guy that, Bain Capital. I mean, I knew all about that stuff in the old days, and I'm like, this will be great. And then you actually start seeing what is going on, and that's what I think is the Trump movement. Donald Trump knew the deal. He knew the corruption. He understood it from the inside out. He had played both sides of it. He had been a participant of it. He knew what the deal was. And he's like, this is not good for America. And he's like, I'm going to expose it. And I'll encourage everybody, if you haven't done it, we actually need to send out an email about it just to point people in the direction to see this. But I'm like, they just came out on Amazon Prime maybe a month ago, The Apprentice. And you can binge watch The Apprentice. I've never seen it before. I was a Trump fan because I read The Art of the Deal when I was in college. She was a Trump fan because she watched The Apprentice. I thought I had a better excuse than her, but she watched The Apprentice. I watched that thing.
Barely spoke English, but I watched that.
That's why she speaks like a Northerner, so a New Yorker, because she talks like Trump. But I'm like, the guy has not changed. In his book, The Art of the Deal from 1987, it's he's the same as that in support of America. But I mean, some of the things that we saw, I mean, they appreciate winners. I'm like, everybody's like, oh, Donald Trump's going to come down here and save us and all that kind of stuff. He's not coming to save us. That's not his job. He's got his own battles. Does anybody know that if he had lost the election, he'd be in jail right now? That's literally where our country was. He would be in jail right now if it was not for the fact that the American people elected him.
And he's still trying to encourage us to get in the fight. 'Cause
Yes.
If we think we won, we haven't won.
No, it is.
You have
The
one
fight has
governor
just
in the whole
begun.
United States backing up his call to give us support to get the illegals out of the country.
Right.
One governor.
And it's not just
just
masters.
No. And he just renewed that call again this week to get your governors.
Is that
Get in line.
DeSantis? Is that
Yeah, he's the
DeSantis?
only one.
DeSantis is the only one that has
Yeah.
deputized his people
Where's
to go out and get illegal immigrants. Why is Governor McMaster not doing it?
So if you come down here as a volunteer, you're in the fight nationally
Yes.
too, by taking on, but you've got to be here to do the work.
Right.
Otherwise, we're going to lose it in the next election.
And part of that work is cleaning up the data that we have. Part of it is doing polls, calling people. We literally need to be making 1,000 phone calls out of here a day. If we made 1,000 phone calls, that's 10 people making 100 calls, whatever. If we did 100, we did 200. We start getting to 1,000. That's what we want to do. And that's why our emphasis is going to be about volunteers coming down. You come here, you learn how to do it, and then you can sit there and do it from home, and we'll expand out from there. But that's what we want to get people doing. We've got to clean it up. You want to make a difference on a legislative issue, well, you've got to be making phone calls, and you got to be reaching out to them. What we're going to want to do, and this is, we've got our platform of a couple bills and stuff we're going to focus on. But and a lot of it's a test. A lot of it is a test. Are you going to endorse or are you going to, number one, sponsor this bill? But I want to do on the school choice side, send them all in our 124 House reps and all 46 state senators and say, are you going to support this bill? I can't wait till the ESA gets sued again for the fourth time. I mean, it's just, they think it's going to be constitutional because there's been a change of the Supreme Court justices down there in Columbia, but there's no difference in the Constitution. If it's unconstitutional because it's government funds, and we cannot give government funds to private Christian schools, why do you think taking the dollars out of instead of the general fund and taking it out of the lottery? You don't think the lottery money is government money? How many of y'all get a cut of the lottery money? Nobody. Because it's government money. I mean, it's incredible what they think, but that's what they push through. So there were 2 Republicans that voted against the ESA. One is obviously Shane Martin, who's helped us and focused on the fact that it's government run. But then Shane Massey, who led the ESA effort, voted against it too a couple weeks ago. But we'll do some more analysis on that. But that's the deep dive work that we've got to do on each and every one of these bills. We got to figure out why these people won't support McCravy's bill. And I think, I think we need to make a bigger issue out of it. Pro-life's not my issue. My issue is school choice. But my problem is the same darn problem you got in there. And that's how we got Carrie to work with us in the beginning, is I'm like, it's the process that is flawed. It's the manipulation, it's the lies that they're telling us is the issue. And it's not we had one gentleman here last night. It's I hate to say it's a naive comment, but it was a naive comment. He's like, oh, we need to go find a bill where they did it in another state and bring that, and say, hey, they passed this bill, it's working here, use this. That's the last thing they want to hear in Columbia. I've literally had legislators say, well, we do it our own way here in South Carolina. Because I took them the school choice bill from Georgia. I said, this thing works perfect. It was $55 million at the time. It's a $120 million bill now. It works perfect. It's all great. Why would you not want to do this? We got to do it the way that's right for South Carolina. Georgia's got a better education program. I think South Carolina's got, because we're still at the bottom. I don't know what Georgia's number is, but they got an A+ or A rated school choice program, and ours is an F rated school choice program. So we'll see. But that's what we're trying to do. Focus more on volunteerism, get more people in here doing things. And what we can also do is, with a lot of those people across the state, we want to capitalize on getting those resources from people across the state. We are not going to get things passed, not going to get things done just in Georgia. I'm sorry, just in Georgia, just in Greenville. But we got 46 counties out there, and we need to win all 46 of them. And we got to get people from all 46 doing things. So what we're going to be asking some of our volunteers that do come a lot and do things, help us get other folks in here, help figure out the things that we can then teach them. Think about some of the campaigns that we've got going. We've got an opportunity to flip the city of Greenville back to Republican. The city of Greenville, we are supposed to be the buckle of the Bible Belt, right? The city of Greenville went Democrat in November 2019. You remember the old guard people, the rhinos, the establishment folks that we call them splinters now, that are all out there doing that, yelling and screaming about how horrible we are. Under their leadership, the city of Greenville went blue. in November of 2019. We were all elected in 2021. So we lost that. And then we had never had a Republican probate judge. I'm a tax attorney CPA. Why on the planet had the Republican Party, before we got involved, when the probate judge election came up, I'm like, we're going to run a candidate. Wasn't exactly excited about who he ended up running, but I was kind of like, why did you not ever run a candidate? You could literally win the probate judge position, a countywide position, almost based on the straight ticket vote. And we never ran a candidate against the Democratic probate judge. So we are the first group that actually made Greenville all Republican on the county level, while they wouldn't do it. And actually, one of my predecessors is the probate judge now. He never ran anybody for probate judge, and he's an actual estate planning attorney. So, I mean, it was very confusing to us. So we did that, but watch the manipulation that the outsiders will say about us. I'm like, they're like, oh, you're doing horrible things. I'm like, the city of Greenville went blue underneath you. And I've actually told the candidates that are running, because we got 2 spots that could flip the city of Greenville back to the Republican side. We got two opportunities to do that. I'm like, the establishment might actually not want you to succeed, because the last thing they want is for us to be able to say we took the city of Greenville back to a Republican city. Yeah, might be more establishment, but they're at least people with R's behind their name, as opposed to the far left Democrats. And I will tell you, the probate judge, it was interesting in that situation that it masked COVID, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was the whole kit and caboodle. But I mean, nobody had ever run a Republican for probate judge until we did. So that's what we're pushing. And so we're looking for those volunteers. But on one of those races, we have a gentleman by the name of Mike Kilgore, who's going to run for Greenville City District 2. It's only 12 precincts over there. Can we not mobilize for 12 precincts? Can we not, help the one county or one citywide race, and get out there and get Republicans to come out and vote? I think we can. We're going to have that opportunity. So, but what we also need to know is those other cities in the county of Greenville that are those other municipalities. We got to figure out those guys too, because we don't know who do we need to run candidates against in Travelers Rest. Who do we need to do it in Fountain Inn? Is Greer good or is Greer bad? We don't know. But at least we're trying, and nobody's ever done it before, so we're good. So, all right, what else do you want to talk about? Exhausted every
Master's phone
number. I don't know if he actually answers the phone anymore.
No, he doesn't.
The thing is, with Governor McMaster, is the person that's pulling all the strings is his chief of staff, a guy by the name of Trey Walker. Trey Walker's his chief of staff. Has never responded to me ever on anything, and but I mean, that's who's pulling the strings, and that's who I would reach out. See if you can find him. So, and tell me later if he answers. So, but that's the problem. A lot of these people will not respond because they know they're not going to be able to tell you what you want to hear. So,
somebody started a petition against McMaster. It was on the radio.
But petition to do what?
To do what the governor of Georgia has done, to federalize all of these states.
Is it DeSantis is the one doing that? I don't know if Kemp has done it yet or not.
He's the only one. Now, this guy started a petition.
Yeah, it was on the Terror Show this morning. Go out to the website. I think she's got it on her Twitter page. You can sign the petition
Okay,
to hold the governor responsible,
I think they should be.
especially after this killing that just happened.
Yeah.
The execution.
There's 6 out of killed us.
That
There's the
woman.
woman up at Fort Mill was.
I don't think it was Fort Mill, but I can't remember. There been something there, but.
Okay.
I mean,
What else? What do we got? Tony, everything good?
I'm 5 year free.
Yeah, Tony and I are working on a project, but we're not gonna say until it happens.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Well, I got no problem adjourning a few minutes early.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yeah, we have a
Motion.
lot of work to do this
We-
afternoon.
Well, I
got
was
a lot
gonna
of-
say one thing.
yes.
With what Ron brought up about see you at the library, it will be held again this August.
Okay.
So once I get the information, if we're gonna do it, I'll need volunteers to read and try to get the libraries. So you get your library cards ready.
And I would encourage people in other counties, because
Yes.
we've done this the past 2 years, but Kirk Cameron, everybody knows Kirk Cameron, from what show was he on?
Was it Family Ties?
Family Ties or
Doogie Howser.
Doogie
No,
Howser?
no. No, I think it was Family Ties.
I don't- Kirk Cameron, but
It was one of those 80 shows.
he pushes, but he's been very vocal about his Christianity and the such, and he's been, I guess, targeted on
Mhm, very much so.
in that industry.
And if you want to be a reader, we do provide the stuff, the books and everything. I just need you to get the library because I can only get one library because you have to be a card holding library member.
And so, what's the name of? See you at the
So you have the
library.
library.
I think I cannot rent the library because I have to.
Oh, outstanding books.
I have outstanding fees for
Yeah.
the porn books that I refuse.
Yeah, you won't be able to get a library for us.
Yes, just so y'all know, that book that we checked out. Apparently, I checked it out under Olga's name, and it was never returned. So we have an outstanding library. Maybe I'll get a willful noncompliance with something, and they'll come arrest me for having a book checked out.
Sorry.
You're gonna go to a ball game again?
I'm working on that. I'm working on a lot of stuff. I had to get the convention over first. Now I'm looking at meeting places. So that is on my list. I've been in contact with the people for the games. So we're working on that too.
That was a very successful event for us. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun,
Yeah,
but we
it
also
was easy.
We were also working with the candidates.
Yeah.
And I know we had brought it up, do it with the city the people running for Greenville City if they wanted to do it. So
Okay, but Brave Books, if y'all want to do it in other
Yes.
counties, just go look up Kirk Cameron, Brave
Right,
Books,
Brave
or
Books.
See You at the Library. Go ahead and start planning that,
yes.
and use that as an event to sit there and get people to come out. Book a library. You don't have to book all 7 libraries like we do up here, but book your local library, and then invite people to come out. People brought their kids and use it as a publicity thing to get the word out and do some things like that. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, to rent their.
To book a room.
Yeah, to book one of the rooms so you can go in there and read to the kids.
There's
Oh.
yes,
Yeah.
there's meeting rooms at libraries that you can reserve,
Right.
and well, I had not either, but for the fact that I know that they were doing years ago what this was kind of a counter to the drag queen story hour.
Right.
So yes, what they do is they rent a room or book a room,
Right.
and then they have their story hour, and they're being read by a drag queen.
Mhm.
And we tried to do something the opposite. That's what Coke was doing. So it worked out
Last
very
year
well.
it was about patriotism. And
Was it? But Kirk Cameron's group will send you the books, send you the materials, go
well, they
through the
did
whole
last
process.
year. Last year was the first year they've done that.
Okay, so
Because
all right.
the years before, I purchased the
Okay.
kits and made kits for everybody.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll do it again this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll send us the
Yeah.
literature.
Usually those things continue to grow if they're successful, and they make it easier and easier.
It's-
for
Yeah, and
people.
it's getting bigger every year because more and more people are knowing about it. So, yeah, he was real excited about
Right.
last year. So.
Yes, and you may actually be on a Zoom call with Kirk Cameron himself, because Olga and Terry sat over there, and Kirk Cameron was up on the screen and answering their questions. So
Yeah.
if
And
you have a
also-
crush on Kirk Cameron, that's a way to talk to him.
And then I got to talk to him last year too about it.
Oh, did you really?
He
Okay.
didn't do a Zoom call though. He just, well, I guess he kind of did do a Zoom call.
Okay.
But yeah.
And then supposedly they pop up. They'll
He
show up
pops up
at
at some
2 or
libraries.
3 libraries across the country. So
Yeah, he didn't. come
Wasn't here in
to
Greenville,
so I know.
all right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Hope everybody has a great weekend, and you'll probably see Olga and her guests next week. So I will hopefully, or probably be out. So thank you all for all joining us. Any questions, just message us, or we'll be in touch. Thank you.
All right.